Arknights Endfield has some of the coolest bosses that I've seen, and this video came out called Developer Reveals the Most Important Thing When Designing a Boss Like Nefarith. It looks very cool, and I do want to see this because it goes through the full design process of the boss, I think. So let's take a look at this real quick.
Come forth and claim
my heart. I'll claim the prize.
Hey everybody, Max here, coming to you from Shanghai, China. The first major update for Arknights Endfield just dropped at the wake of spring, and it features...
Crazy that this is the first major update, by the way, when it is as good as it is. That is wild.
There's a truly epic boss fight with Nefarith. I'm here to take a behind-the-scenes look at how the team at Griffline brought this awesome encounter to life.
Now listen, I've been invited to events from Griffline. I got to go to the first ever beta of the game as well. Not the first ever beta actually. It was the second closed beta before it became a closed beta in LA. They flew me out to LA. I got hands-on with this game so many times, bro, and I loved it. There were a few things that I didn't like, but I give my feedback, and some of those things were even fixed, bro. I feel like Arknights is a game that really does listen to the player base, at least in my opinion, from what I've seen. Oh, what is this? Oh my god. I want to do that. Oh my god. I want to do it. I want to do that. I can be the boss. Holy. Alright, how did they design this boss? First we faced Nefarith. True. Oh, I'll taste it.
Epic. Let's go.
Okay.
Dude, it is a fun fight.
That's my opening, yeah.
Yeah,
there we go.
yeah,
Okay,
very good job.
Right.
Damn, bro's a gamer, dude. Playing on controller too.
Yes. Oh, that's a really long one.
Uh-oh.
Dodge. Yeah,
nice
yes,
dodge.
Nice.
Wait, it's actually gaming, chat.
So satisfying.
It is.
Transformation.
How do you all feel about that mechanic in the boss fight? The one where you have to press the button to go up in the air to, number one, avoid attacks, and number two, trigger a counter damage on Nefarith. How did you all feel about that? Did you think it was fun? I liked it, very engaging, it was cool. I agree with you. I think they should have like a hard version of that fight, which they might, to be fair, I haven't really checked, with shorter windows on the counters and stuff. I think it'd be very cool, dude, to have like a super hard version, or just keep introducing new mechanics like this for future bosses too. It's really engaging.
Yeah. And use her skill, like battle skill, more to...
Oh, damn. Okay. Nice. This guy's actually kind of a gamer, dude.
Ooh.
Wait, I'm sorry. Is her skill that long, that far? Does it...
Yeah.
Wait, that's insane range. What?
Second form.
Did you always know she was going to turn into a dragon?
Yeah. Of course.
Okay.
This transition, this boss transition, absolutely fire, dude. It was so sick. A freaking dragon.
Don't think about this. Oh, that's a big damage.
That's a big one, yeah.
Yeah. What did bro think was gonna happen though?
Yeah. Do you want to see
they had to nerf him.
Try not to interrupt her. You will see what happens. Ooh, here use her big skill to use her big sword.
Oh.
To execute you.
I mean, that's...
Okay, one thing I want to say, and this might be a controversial take here. This might be a bit of a controversial take. This is a developer of the game, I assume, or maybe a combat designer or something, or a character designer, right? They're trying to show off the design, execution, and design animations of this boss. I truly think if you have to say, try to let this one hit you, try not to dodge out of the way so you can see this. Maybe it's a bit too easy, and maybe the first time you fight the boss, it should be harder, and then you can have the choice to make it easier, right? Maybe make the counter timings a bit slower or something. What I'm saying is, twice already, this guy has said, can you let this attack hit you so you can see the cool animation? Most players are never going to get to see these cool animations because they're just playing the game right and doing all the counters and stuff, because in reality, it really wasn't that difficult to learn them. And I kind of just wish people got to experience the actual cool animations a bit more, you know? They actually got to see the really cool attacks and stuff. It's different for a game like Dark Souls, which is inherently very hard, so you're going to end up seeing every boss mechanic most of the time. But yeah, like Soulfire said, this way you only experience 1/3 or the intended design of the fight. Yeah, I'd like to see these animations play out a little bit more. Maybe make them story specific. For example, it doesn't do any actual HP damage, but every time there is a new attack with a super cool animation like that where it stabs you, it just happens and then it throws you back down and you don't actually lose any health, but for the cinematic feel it still shows you it, so you get to show it off. That'd be cool. I'd be down for that too.
Do you want to see this big one? Try not to interrupt her.
Try not to
You will see
interrupt
what
her.
happens. Ooh, here use your big skill.
Yeah. And it's so cool. Like this. It is so sick.
To execute you.
I mean, that's what a sword is for.
That's what the sword is for.
Goddamn,
Goddamn, mid-air takedown, baby.
The ultimate skill would come.
No, no, my friends.
Yeah, your friends are not your power.
Dodge her like shocking waves. Something bigger is coming. Something bigger is coming. No.
Red Bozo, bro.
Down, but it's okay. She's really weak right
We're really
now.
close.
Yeah, you can still beat her.
Come. Oh,
Damn, that was close.
yeah, you got her.
Dude. The cutscene animation, absolute 10 out of 10 for that goddamn fight too, bro. My god,
We
they
got
killed
Nefarith
it.
taken care of. I want to dig into how this boss fight connects to Arknights Endfield's larger approach to boss design and how combat continues to evolve.
Oh, I'm excited actually. I didn't realize this is what it was going to be. So maybe they'll give a couple of teasers for future bosses or at least design influences.
Now, players who've been playing Arknights Endfield have encountered Nefarith before, but they have not fought her. This is the first time she's been a boss fight. It's a big deal both in terms of story and in terms of gameplay because you've got some new features here.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about what kind of an experience you wanted this to be for the player?
Yes, of course, sure. 像涅菲斯在我们之前的战斗中
Okay,
其实已
so
经出现
I'll voice this bit for you guys. So I will turn it down just so you can understand what's going on as he's saying it.
What kind of an experience you wanted this to be for the player?
Yes, of course, sure.
So, like Nefarith in our previous battles, she has actually already... Goddamn, bro speaks fast. Like Nefarith in our previous battles, she has actually already appeared. But this is the first time we are having a very direct confrontation with her. This is a climax of the story. We broke it down into two perspectives to consider. One is the portrayal of her in terms of the story, and the other is the expression of her combat mechanics and gameplay. From a story perspective, and since she is overall the climax of the story, we want the overall feel of this boss to be grand and have a sense of epicness. So we designed for her a lot of iconic skills. For example, she has a kind of ability that we call Mind Space. Yeah, this one was really freaking cool, bro. Really cool. Which is an ability that can stop time. We first made a skill which she can use her time stopping ability to perform a sneak attack on you. You have to, within this time frame, perform some quick dodging. We also designed some other abilities. For example, if you don't interrupt her in time, she might stop time. Yeah, and you get absolutely fucked up, bro. It's kind of crazy. And then use a giant sword to stab into your body and flip you up into the air. We thought that scene was very striking, and we really liked that skill. And finally, to bring this to a climax, we also designed a skill where she can freeze all of your teammates. This was one of the coolest ones. This is the kind of mechanics that I really want to see in my gacha game fights. Y'all will remember me saying this a ton of times, but let me explain. One of my favorite ideas for a mechanic in a gacha game fight is to have all four of your characters, or three, or however many you have, right? Let's just say four for this example. Have all four of your characters, and then use this image that's on screen right now as a reference here. 3 circles appear on the ground around you. They can be where the balls are. You have to equip one character and run into one of the circles to imprison them, and then the same with the others. But let's say, for example, the circles are different colors. Let's say the circle on the left is red, the circle on the front is green, and the circle on the right is blue. And that is for damage, heals, and tanking damage. Let's just say like an MMO, right? The qualifier for the first circle is the character has to be at full HP. The qualifier for the tank circle is that the character has to have a shield on it. And the qualifier for the damage circle is that, I don't know, the character has some kind of buff on it or something. And when you walk that character into the circle, it locks them in place. And then you stand in the middle, and then it executes like a finisher move or something. It's just raid mechanics. But you can do it in a gacha game as a single player. You can do it because you control all 4 of the goddamn characters. Okay, chat, so what Bran wants is an MMO? No, I want really cool boss fight mechanics that I am yoinking and twisting from MMOs to fit the gacha genre. It works. It would work very well. You could even make it less limited by not requiring the shields. You could even make it less limited by just making it so you've got to have characters stood in certain positions, not even like certain roles. I do think it'd make it a lot more engaging. You then need to save them one by one. We felt the whole scene had a great sense of tension. It did. It felt amazing. Really did. And was very fitting for the final climax of her battle. And then regarding the second point we just mentioned, in terms of gameplay and mechanics, What we originally thought was we wanted her to be different from other bosses. We didn't want players to be able to just go up to her and keep attacking her the whole time, and this is exactly what I'm saying. The execution they had for this boss fight was really good. It was 10 out of 10, because this is exactly what I'm saying. At the very beginning, we actually had a design where we placed Nefarith on a platform. You would have to perform multiple jumps just to possibly reach the platform and attack her. After we built it and played it, the overall experience felt quite slow, and there wasn't really any enjoyment in it. Okay, that's fair. Then they came up with this new idea. That's great. This place is very closely related to another main character of ours, Zhuangfeng Yi. True, it is. And the entire battlefield is a trap that we set up to invite Nefarith here. So that's when we thought, could we use the ability granted to us by Zhuangfeng Yi, an ability that lets us jump very high, and then finally use a plunging attack to interrupt this boss? It's a very unique mechanic. Although this idea sounds very simple, after we actually tried it out, we felt that performing this maneuver actually brought a very enjoyable sense of satisfaction. Do you know the most satisfying part of this fight was when the dragon flew up and started doing the charge while flying, and you, in turn, matched its height, plunged, and interrupted it in mid-air. Cinema. Cinema. It was so good.
A lot of new stuff, but you're leaving out
so good.
Maybe the biggest one, which is that Nefarith has an epic transformation about halfway through the fight. She's got a second form. Tell us a little bit about the learning curve there and how you want players to adapt and approach the situation.
Okay, sure.
From our perspective, for a boss fight mechanic to be considered good, I think it probably needs to satisfy 2 points. The first point is that we believe this mechanic must be very intuitive, it must be very easy to understand, and we don't want players to have to learn a bunch of complicated rules, or to remember them before they can even play the boss fight. The second point, we believe, very importantly, is that our boss mechanics must go from simple to complex. They did a great job at that, by the way. Round 1 with Nefarith was fine. It was easy. Round 2, bro, my goodness, I struggled a little bit. Take, for example, the first point we just mentioned. We had to make sure that the very first time players enter the game, they must perform that big jump plus dive attack, which will also, when the boss herself is casting a similar skill, add to her a special uninterruptible red circle from the game, or interruptible, sorry. This is the moment you should use an attack to interrupt her, yes. Then, when it comes to her second phase, we will raise the difficulty a bit further. For example, we'll have her use raw type skills more frequently. That shit pissed me off, bro, I'm not even gonna lie. I'm not mad that it's a thing, and I don't think it was a bad implementation or execution, but my fucking god, when I've got a character that has to be literally up this motherfucker's asshole to be able to do any goddamn damage, and I'm up there with Leviton's freaking fist pow-pow-powing it, and all of a sudden I'm just going and I can't get a full combo off, then yeah, it's a bit annoying. Sorry, but it was great execution, yeah. I mean, it made it so I couldn't just stick up its ass, which makes sense, making it more challenging for players to get close to her. Then in her second phase, she also has a breathing attack where she'll fly back and forth in the air. This was a fun one. I really enjoyed this attack personally. During this phase, you can actually use the big jump plus dive attack to knock her down, but it requires the player to have more precise timing and prediction, but that's why it felt so satisfying, because it was cinematically beautiful, and it also felt really good because you got the timing down. And then yes, after we finished designing, we indeed did a lot of testing to try to optimize the experience within it. For example, regarding the second phase, we just mentioned that the back and forth dragon breath phase. At the beginning, she would only take off, breathe once, and then it'd be over. Then later, we found that although enough players were willing to try it, by the time they saw her take off and come towards them, it was already too late. I think that's a good decision to extend that little scene by a bit and make it do a couple of looping rounds like freaking Rolling Thunder. I do. There's also games like Dark Souls again. Like Seath the Scaleless even does a kind of similar attack to this. He doesn't fly up because he's scaleless and doesn't fly anymore. But even the Calamity Dragon, Calamite, if y'all have played Dark Souls 1 or at least the DLC for Dark Souls 1, Calamite, the Calamitic Black Dragon does a very similar attack to this where he flies up in the air and does a breathing strike, but it is just one. And then it lands and then goes haywire and does other stuff. I think doing multiple makes it look cooler and feel cooler and lets you learn things a bit easier and better, which I'm fine with. I think that's good. So yeah, doing the move several more times is great. That way players would not only feel greater pressure from her attacks, but also have more time to react and decide which time they want to try and interrupt her. So through the gameplay designs, we had the opportunity to better refine the player's experience with the mechanics in this part.
Okay, so beyond Nefarith, can you tell us a little bit about about how the team at Griffline thinks about boss fights as a whole, and really, what that player experience needs to be.
We truly hope that different boss battles can bring players completely unique and varied experiences. We generally break down our approach to designing different bosses into 3 aspects. The first one might be easily overlooked by players, but we think it's very important. Let's see what this is. That is the boss's appearance. No. Okay, I need the team at Griffline to understand this. Boss appearance is not overlooked by a vast majority of players, I promise you. Surely. Not by a vast majority of players. Bro, if you have an awesome designed boss, it stands out. When I say awesomely designed, I don't mean like a monstrous dragon with scales and ripped things coming off and stuff. I don't even mean that. I just mean a really well-designed boss fight. Dude, I've played Bloodborne. Bloodborne, one of my favorite Souls games. There are bosses in that game that are literally based off of like amygdala, part of the brain, right? Awesomely designed. There's bosses that are based off real people. There's bosses that are based off of the moon. Frickin' Gurman, the scythe guy. There's bosses that look insane. Do you know my favorite designed boss from the entire game? Lady Maria. She looks like Clarend from Genshin Impact. She looks like an average hunter. Why is she my favorite designed boss? Because they nailed the very minute details of that design when you're up close, and when you're fighting that boss, the boss's telegraphed attacks are really on point, and the visual aesthetic of the boss changing throughout each phase makes it 10 out of 10 for me. Also, she's really hot. But apart from that, like, she's a really cool boss, bro. It's really cool. Whether the boss is large or small, whether it is human or more like a monster type or mechanical type, this is actually very important to us. I'm so glad they said this. This is exactly what I was just saying. Okay, huge. Because it affects many of the ways you will interact with the boss later on. For example, consider the boss from our prologue. This was also fucking awesome, by the way. I love tremendously sized bosses like this. Because it is very large, your ways of interacting with it might be limited to specific parts of its body. I think we should have fights like that, but where you can destroy the parts of the bodies, right? And then it drops, and then you hit the weak spot, but those parts of the bodies don't just regenerate. You got to chip it down bit by bit. I think that'd be really cool. On the other hand, if a boss has a very small appearance, we then have to think of ways to prevent it from being overwhelmed by the player's team or becoming a bit difficult to see. So appearance is probably the very first point we need to consider from the start. The second point we believe is the boss's core expressiveness within the story. Ooh, what do they mean by this? To put it this way, this includes the entire boss's movement design, visual effects design, as well as many aspects like audio design. As you can imagine, no player would really want to fight a boss that doesn't look cool enough. Yeah, for sure. Let him cook. In the design of every boss, we constantly need to search for what is truly the core highlight of its portrayal in the story and of its abilities. We had a boss before called the Marble Haglamori. I think I know what they're going to say about this. This boss was annoying as balls, but it was so very cool. This is still my favorite boss in the game, especially the second phase. First phase is annoying as hell. Second phase, amazing. I love the fact that you got to jump to avoid certain attacks. I love the aggression of this boss. I think it's amazing. So good. Who had a very unique ability. It could turn all of its own limbs into various weapons. I thought it was the most creative boss in a gacha game I've seen in a very long time. The animations of this boss are incredible. The different movesets are really fun. In our animation and visual effects design, we definitely made sure to emphasize that across its different skills and moves, it would frequently use a variety of weapons and interact with the player through each distinct strike and move. Yeah, I love it. Another example would be Nefarith. She has kind of a time stopping ability. Yeah, indeed. So we definitely designed many skills and visual effects around that, right? Yeah, very strongly tied to the time stop. All of this work is actually aimed at highlighting a boss's uniqueness and the overall sense of epicness it brings to players. Only then do we arrive at the third point, the design on the mechanical level. I'm surprised that the design on a mechanical level is at such a low priority point, genuinely. Let me see where they go with this. This determines whether from the boss's movements and presentation, players can find enough challenge, and whether that challenge is interesting to them. To address that aspect, we put our thinking caps on and try to take the good things we've seen in games we've played and attempt to integrate them into this boss fight. Oh, are they gonna tell us what their inspirations are? For example, we also had another boss before called Ruan Yi, who require players to go out on the field and use certain energy sources to defeat the boss. It's generally the most interesting part of the entire boss fight design process. Okay, I got to admit here, as a player, that was probably the most annoying part of the entire boss fight. Thoughts? Just the constant AoE spam on the ground and having to go around and pick things up and not use your character's abilities that you like using? I don't know. That's just my honest opinion here. The rest of the boss fight was freaking awesome. It was very cool.
So a boss fight needs to be a big, exciting thing for players, but it also needs to be mechanically different. Can you talk a little bit about finding that balance between just overall spectacle, but also mechanical challenge without it being too much in one way or the other?
其实在刚开始的时候，我觉得我们还是
Actually, at the very beginning, we feel that we did make some mistakes. In our early playtest builds, we tried to make a boss that had extremely strong mechanics, but one that was somewhat lacking. Oh my god, look at this, bro. This is what this boss fight started off as. Oh my god, it's beautiful. In terms of its appearance and overall presentation, we ourselves were quite confident in this boss. It's beautiful. It is. It's stunning. It's the best looking boss in the game. But after we gave it to players to try, the feedback was actually not good. Players reported that this boss seemed fun. It had some enjoyable elements, but playing it overall felt especially like playing a puzzle game. They said, honestly, in the context of the story, at this point I was hoping to see a grand spectacle. I was hoping for a climactic moment in the plot. I mean, yeah, if it's the climax of the story and the final boss, you definitely want a climactic moment in the plot, absolutely. And they delivered with that MC moment with, who was it with? It was with, Chen. That was fucking awesome. That was great. That was the climactic moment that this story needed, in my opinion. Wait, it was Tang Tang? I thought it was Chen. Interesting. Maybe it was Tang. But this boss didn't bring me that kind of experience. Therefore, when creating bosses later on, we also adjusted some of our strategies. We always prioritize determining the boss's appearance and what its core presentation and competitive edge are overall. But us having a more enjoyable mechanic is essentially like a cherry on the top. Wow, that's interesting to me. I feel like Owen Wilson right now. Wow. I'm surprised by this. I'm surprised that the cherry on top thing is the mechanics. For example, taking Nefarith's entire battle as a case, I think the effort we spent, probably 60 to 70% of it, was adjusting her core presentation. And the actual gameplay part of it, we actually tried to keep it to maybe around 30%. Wow. Imagine if they reverse that. We feel that this combination is, for now, what we have, found to be a relatively good balance.
Now, this is not news, but Arknights Endfield is a 4-character squad structure.
Yeah.
Players have gotten used to that. How do you find that that is the right foundation? Like, why was that the right foundation to begin with? Can you tell us a little about combat strategies and just how you're planning ahead for that and how you're approaching it in future updates?
Yes.
Curious about this, because I don't know if the 4-character structure is necessarily the best. Truly, I don't. But what I love about Endfield is the fact that all of the characters are on screen with you at the same time, fighting the battle with you, and you're not just a solo person switching to and from. I think it makes the game feel so much more alive. It makes the combat feel so much cooler and so much better, and you can actually like reposition on different characters, and you can choose to use different characters still while the others are still on field. So if you're playing a character and they go to like 1 HP, you can switch to someone else, and they're going to be dodging a lot better than you are, that's for sure. It's a very cool combat design game, in my opinion. So this went through quite a long process. At the very beginning, the core elements we had to focus on for our game were actually a sandbox's free exploration and a factory's infrastructure construction. These two main things. You can tell they put a lot of work and effort into the factory more so than other aspects, and I don't think that's a bad thing, for sure. In this kind of environment, it's actually hard to imagine that we would make a turn-based game or a tactical grid-based game within it. But in a real-time 3D game, we actually hope to retain some of that strategic feel found in our previous work, Arknights. So after many rounds of testing and with our own exploration, we created our own genre called 3D real-time, which is similar to RPG. They created their own genre. Is Endfield the first 3D game to do this? That is a bold statement, that's why I'm checking, but if it is, that's really fucking cool, bro. Holy shit. You don't think so? Maybe first gacha game. They mean they create their first 3D real-time game. I think created our own genre is a confusing choice of words to use there, but I see what you mean if that is what they're saying. As in, they basically refined what they knew and what they built already in original Arknights and transferred that into 3D real time. 4-person squad is the most important component within the game. Yeah, I agree with that. For us, it represents 3 layers of game design. The first is having 4 characters on screen at the same time. Again, favorite thing about Endfield, in my opinion, for the combat. This makes the overall experience, whenever you take various actions, or when you're in combat, you always have your companions, so seeing them fight alongside you, the visual impact on that itself becomes much stronger. Because all 4 characters are present at the same time, you don't need to frequently switch your characters. I find that a really fun thing, by the way, the fact that you don't have to constantly switch your characters. I do. It makes it feel less like quick swap, even though you're basically just doing the exact same thing. You're literally just using skills while the character is quote-unquote out of focus, I'll say, instead of off field, because they're still on field. Yeah, directly commanding your teammates to use their skills. This makes the overall pace of combat tighter and much smoother. Yep. Second point is what we call resource circulation and conversion. Because our combat system has 2 sets of mechanics, physical and art, each character can produce a certain amount of what we call resources. They can also consume resources. For example, common mechanics in our game like vulnerability or arts infliction are actually forms of resources. With this kind of resource system in place, our team composition becomes very flexible. And this is what we believe is the most important part of our game's pre-battle team building strategy. Then we have the third point, which is the most important source of strategy in our combat. Something we call skill point sharing, because all party members require skill points to use their battle skills. Skill points are actually shared among the team, which I also think is a good thing. It makes it more strategic for timing parries especially. It makes it a lot harder. So during combat, you have to make decisions about whether to use skill points at that very moment or which character's skill to consume those skill points on. Yeah, it makes it really hard to time parrying sometimes, for sure, but I think that's a good depth to have for the combat system. Battles that might otherwise feel somewhat static now have a greater need for real-life decision-making, making them more intense and strategic. All three characteristics actually allow us to design combat gameplay that makes this game more strategic. For example, in some of the high difficulty challenges currently in our game, the Umbral, what was that? The Umbral Monolith? Monument gameplay. God, this thing is hard, bro. This thing is hard. I've done most of them. They're hard. During certain time phases, your skill points regenerate very slowly or not at all. In such a situation, players might need to think about either bringing more operators of specific classes, like your little fisherman, to increase their skill point regeneration, or storing up enough skill points before that phase begins. It's really tough. It is. That endgame mode is one of my favorite endgames in Gacha, though, because the time limit, I don't even think there is one, right? Or it's super fucking high. It's mainly just survive and kill, bro. That's basically it. Some teams might indeed deal damage faster, but after each burst of damage, they have a cooldown or downtime period. Other teams might have lower damage output at the start, but as time goes on, they can more consistently provide higher damage over time. We hope that these different team dynamics can also add to the overall strategy and fun of the game. They can, 100%. I think keeping it so that you can have a good variety of teams and different ways to build teams is always going to be a good thing. We believe that the current combat system as a whole is still very well suited for our game, and we also feel it has a lot of room for expansion.
Now, Nefarith has been a long time coming. A lot of players have been working towards this. So using Nefarith as a starting point, what does this battle teach us about the future of Arknights Endfield? And also, what do you hope players learn from this encounter about how Arknights Endfield wants to be played?
First of all, there's already minigames on the market that focus primarily on instant feedback and a sense of exhilaration, ARPGs of that kind. Oh, even though we have many real-time elements, yeah, they have like the counters, they have the skills, the ults, the team-up attacks. We also feel that we should take our future direction of development more towards the strategic side when thinking about this. We hope to continue delivering like we did with Nefarith, boss battles with enough elements that provide players with both strong presentation and engaging gameplay mechanics. Actually, when we were making Nefarith, there was a small regret. Originally, during her transformation between human form and dragon form, we had planned to have a playable cutscene, but due to schedule constraints, we unfortunately couldn't implement it. I have a question. Be honest here. If you had to wait 8 weeks instead of 6 weeks for every patch cycle of a gacha game, but it meant the presentation of almost every aspect was that much better, would you be happy with that? No? Yes? Yes? I'd take it, no question. How much better? You can't put a price on how much better. You can't justify how much better. It depends on the person, right? But like this, for example, if it meant they could add an extra cutscene into the boss fight, that'd make it even more epic, and maybe make sure there was no bugs on release. Only if there are some stuff and spread them around and not be only in the first week. I don't think they should necessarily have to spread the content out over longer periods of time. I think that should be a personal thing. Like if people want to do all the content at once, let them. If they want to spread it out over 8 weeks, let them. How do you love Endfield? Rate it 1 to 10. Oh, it's hard to rate overall for me. It really is. It's no less than an 8 for my enjoyability. The thing for me is I really like the factory system. I think it's a great thing, but I personally despise it. Like, I don't despise it. I'm just not good at it, so it pisses me off a lot. But I love that it's a thing, and I love that so many people like it. I think it was a great decision to implement it and keep it as a main core component of the game. But it's like, for me, I don't want to have to learn the factory and do the fucking factory just to build my goddamn character, bro. And I don't want to log on after a week and see that my goddamn factory has 0 battery power for some reason that I cannot understand. Sorry. That's just me. That's just me. But I think it's a good thing. The story is really good this patch. The patch 1 story, Patch 2 story, this one, very, very good. The general vibe of the game and the feel of being able to play the game and exploration, 10 out of 10. I love it. Due to schedule constraints, we unfortunately couldn't implement it. I hope that in our future boss battles and more combat experiences, that we can fully realize these kinds of transition experiences and make them happen. I think that'd be good. Regarding the 4-person squad, I think we still have a lot of room for expansion on that front as well. For example, in a large-scale battle, Your teammates might not just go up and attack the monster for you. Wait, like in Dragon's Dogma 2, they could also help boost you up. Oh, that'd be so cool. Oh, that'd be really cool, dude. Yeah, allowing you to reach the boss. Yeah, that'd be so fun. That way we feel that the overall advantages and sense of spectacle could be brought out even more. Yeah, like say there's 4 like rocks around the arena and the boss lands in between them and is going to do a big AoE. The other 3 characters hide behind a rock and you only have 1 rock to hide behind because there's only 1 left. Something like that would be awesome, bro. Yeah. Do that. For Nefarith, this time we have a special big jump button, right? Yes, indeed. We think this design has a lot of potential for exploration as well. Please. Oh my god. We hope that players will not only see this as just a real-time, fast-paced ARPG game for instant gratification. Give me the super jump for exploration so I can jump over fucking fences, bro. The amount of goddamn fences that I've had in freaking Wuling, bro, where I'm like, I could jump over that. I could jump over that. Me. Climbing doesn't necessarily need to be in the game, but we need something a little bit better than having to go all the way around, at least in my opinion, bro. We also hope that players will notice these aspects of ours that are more strategic and interesting in terms of overall gameplay mechanics. And we hope that players will look forward to more content like this in future versions as well.
Clearly, you guys have been very busy.
Dude.
Yeah, Max, that's my pleasure.
Hell
you can check out
man.
the At the Wake of Spring update in Arknights Enfield right now. And for more Arknights
Amazing.
Enfield, you're already in the right place. IGN.
I think Enfield's doing all the right things right now. I really don't think they have to worry about anything. I don't think they're doing anything bad at all. My biggest gripe with Enfield, bro, is the gacha system. And honestly, it's a lot more fair than a lot of other gacha systems. I'm just one of those gacha players that likes to pull when they get the goddamn currency and doesn't want to save up for a guarantee. That's on me. I think it's heading in the right direction. I'm very curious to see what future bosses are going to look like because I feel like with that design philosophy, they've got the chance to make bangers, but I do also think there's higher risk at it flopping as well. I think there is a higher risk of a boss design not being as good if they only put 30% of their efforts into actual mechanics, which is worrying. But that's just me. That's just me. I'm very excited for the future of this game. 100%. And yes, I might be a bit of a tourist, bro. I gotta stretch my time between freaking Genshin, Arknights, Ruwa, NTE now, freaking Final Fantasy 14 that I play off stream, Overwatch, Marvel Rivals, bro. I'm playing a lot of games. I'm a gamer. I will tour the seas. See the 7 wonders of the world because I play 7 games right now. And I'll enjoy my time doing it, bro.